Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of Closing Out the Week with the Closers podcast. This will come out on Friday, July 8th? What day is it? It's Tuesday? Oh, shit. Yesterday was the 8th. The 13th. Yeah, the 13th. Wait. No, the 12th. I'm sorry. My apologies, everybody. The 12th. I'm a fucking idiot. Yeah, so this is just going to be me today. This is the first time I'm doing a solo podcast, so I'm not going to be on for very long. Before I begin my little rant about Spider-Man Far From Home and the state of just Spider-Man movies in general, I'm going to just say, please follow the Closers podcast at, on Instagram at the Closers Podcast, and on like our Facebook page at Closers Podcast. Instagram has the, Facebook doesn't. Also, if you liked the intro song, that is my new song that I released under my artist name Downer. It is called Happy Hour. If you want to listen to the full thing, it is on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Bandcamp. Links will be in the description, as well as on my personal Instagram account, my personal Twitter, and also on at DownerCA on Instagram and at DownerCA on Twitter. With all that out of the way, let's talk about some Spider-Man Far From Home. This is a totally spoiler centric discussion. So if you have not seen the movie yet, please go watch the movie and then come back and listen to this, because I have tried to record talking about things that don't have to do with spoilers, but there is no way to do that with this movie, at least for me, because I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not a professional critic or anything like that. So I can't eloquently craft opinions without having some sort of spoiler. So I apologize in advance, but please go watch the movie, then come back and listen to this. So with everybody gone that hasn't seen the movie, let's talk about the romance between Mary Jane and Peter, because I feel like that took up a little bit too much time at the beginning of the movie. And a lot of that time could have been taken instead and used to build up Mysterio a little bit more as a villain. I liked how he was used within the movie. Quentin Beck, showing his true colors towards the middle of the movie, where he takes the sunglasses from Peter and basically has control of a giant fleet of drones that Tony Stark entrusted to Peter. I liked that, but I just feel like backstory wise, and the fact that he's a disgruntled employee of ex-employee of Tony Stark makes sense and all, but I would still like to know a little bit more about him, and I also would have liked to have seen a little bit more involving the illusions that he is a master of. I mean, that's the whole point of the Mysterio character, is he's a master of illusion. So anybody that gets in his way, he's going to basically make them go insane, and he's going to make them like question everything that's real or everything that's fake too. And you saw that with Peter for a little bit, after he gets in that fight with Mysterio in the building in, is it Prague? No, it's not Prague. Berlin? Yeah, it's in Berlin. And that whole sequence where Mysterio is just like totally messing with Peter's mind, and he even he messes with Peter to the point where he uses the fact that he uses Nick Fury, and Nick Fury shooting Mysterio in the back as part of the illusion, because everyone thinks, okay, Mysterio's dead, that's it's over, but that's part of the illusion too. And I wanted to see more of that, because Mysterio is really a sinister villain in the comics. And yeah, he's not he doesn't have super strength. He has really no powers at all. He's just a guy. Which I like how they illustrated that. However, he has, I feel like it should have shown more of Mysterio kind of turning insane himself in a way. I mean, they did. I'm not saying they didn't do any of these things. I feel like they should have done a little bit more to illustrate Mysterio as a villain that is just as savvy as Spider-Man. I feel like once the illusions were kind of gone and Spider-Man knew, okay, this guy is just using technology against me. At that point, it was basically over. In my opinion, the whole struggle, the whole conflict was basically over because it's like, okay, there's really no adversary in that case that can just beat somebody with their mind when you have a guy who can shoot webs out of his wrists and who's a genius himself. So basically, Mysterio is a guy who is just as smart as Spider-Man, maybe a little bit smarter. But he doesn't have any superpowers. He has no strength, right? I just feel like there should have been something else that happens. Another card, to use, a metaphor, that could have been played by Mysterio to make Peter Parker's, to make the final battle a little bit more difficult instead of just Peter having to fight a bunch of drones. The end battle kind of annoyed me in that way. I mean, it was cool. And I thought that they were going to go there when Mysterio tried to play another illusion on Peter when he like tried to make it look like there was a hallway and it was all dark and Peter had to use his spider sense to see through the illusion. I mean, I see the development as in Peter and why they wanted to go that route. I just wish they would have done that a little bit more. Like, I wish once Mysterio started seeing, okay, my big illusion to fool the world's gone. It's done. I need to fool this guy. I need to fool Spider-Man because he's coming to get me and I don't want to get got. So now all these drones are going to now focus on him. And if he, just imagine if Peter, got into the center of that big illusion of the storm monster or whatever. And took all those drones out, did all that stuff. But then, after he took all them out, even more drones came and set up a world. It would be cool. It would have been cool if Mysterio would have done an illusion where the world is exactly like it is now. He was able to see somewhat into the future or just predict how things would look. But surround Peter basically with the drones and make it look like Mary Jane was dead or something like that, which is super dark for a Disney movie. But, really play with Peter's emotions in that way. Because, yeah, all the cool imagery, all the cool little, the Scarecrow-esque type of illusions, quote unquote dream sequences, because he was awake, so it's not a dream sequence, but all those types of scenes were really fucking cool. It was awesome to see. But I think that a realistic illusion that really tore Peter apart mentally and emotionally was missing from the movie. And that is basically what I've been trying to say. The final illusion shouldn't have been something extravagant, something big. It should have been centered around Peter and trying to make sure that Peter never got to Mysterio. Of course, he would still have defeated Mysterio and he would have found out, okay, Mary Jane's not dead. My classmates aren't actually dead. Everyone's fine. But that's what, in my opinion, it should have been a little bit deeper in that regard instead of just, oh, it's a big storm monster. And, okay, Spider-Man knows that It's just an illusion, so he's going to go straight into it. And then he just fights robots. And that's it. You know, like, it could have been a little bit more. But with all that being said, that's like my only critique of the whole movie. I loved it. I actually loved the movie. You know, surprise, surprise, I actually loved it a lot. I really liked Mysterio. Even though they could have done a little bit more with the character, I feel like they did enough. And I really like how they took the extra step with him, because they could have just, you know, made him a guy who's like, oh, I just have all this technology, then I'm able to fool people with it, and that's it. But they took the extra step to connect him to Tony Stark, to connect him to Civil War, the movie Civil War, and all these other you know, Marvel movies, and had it make sense. I mean, I didn't expect anything less from Marvel, but I just think that made him and Vulture, both of these villains in the Spider-Man Homecoming and Far From Home, really successful, because you don't see that really in any other Marvel property, where the villain really does connect on a deeper level. Because all the other villains, I mean, the one that comes to mind is just what's his name, the villain from Ant-Man, the first one. Like, he was just thrown in just to have a villain. Like, no one even knew about him. He has no relevance to anything having to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe at all. But these characters, Vulture and Mysterio, they do. You know, Vulture is a product of the Avengers, the first Avengers movie. Like, these are things that are relatable. We've all been there, where a boss, an event happens in our lives that, you know, totally changes things, and you have to adapt. And these guys adapted, and in a negative way, but they adapted nonetheless. And I feel like that is something that people have to do quite often. I feel like it's very relatable. So you can relate to really every character in this movie. The comedic relief of JB Smoove and what the fuck is his name? I know that he was in Freaks and Geeks, but that guy, the two teachers were hilarious. I think his name's Ned. The character's named Ned. I'm sorry, I don't know the names of the actors, but they all were great. And Ned's little romance with his girlfriend, and then at the very end when they break up and everyone, and they act like, you know, they've been married for like 8 years, and they, you know, just decided, you know, marriage just wasn't for them and they should just be friends. You know, it's just funny. I like how they addressed the snap, or as they call it, the blip in the movie. They showed how certain characters like grew up, and, you know, it was 5 years. So, you know, they were 14, and now some of them are 19. It is interesting though how, like, everybody in that little group just got snapped or blipped away, except for the one Asian kid. Like, you would have thought, you know, there would have been a little bit, there were, you know, like Flash Thompson. Like, he would have, you know, been snapped away, or he wouldn't have been snapped away, and he would have came back a bigger guy, you know, and he's still mad at Peter or whatever. And that turns into an arc where, like, you know, there's some animosity for whatever reason, you know, just him being older. Maybe he started working out. He's a bigger guy. He's went into the military. So he, you know, there's things going on with him now. Like, it opened up a window for there to be growth with that specific character, because he's an integral character in the arc of Spider-Man and in the plots of the Spider-Man universe. But he's the same character, just now he vlogs. So, you know, it to me, I feel like it's a missed opportunity. For him specifically. But Peter, I feel like he's taken, you know, the first movie, it's him getting really his feet wet within the MCU. This movie is him, you know, showing everybody that he's going to be a mainstay within the cast of characters for a really long time. And not just a mainstay, but he's working his way. He's not there yet, but he's working his way to being the leader of the Avengers at some point. I have been told by some people who are closely following the MCU that Tom Holland has a 9 Tom Holland has a 9-year, not 9-year, what the fuck? A 9-movie deal with Marvel. So he's had 2 movies already done. So he has 7 more. I do not believe the contract includes Infinity War and Endgame. I don't believe so. I think the contract just includes, it's just about solo standalone movies. Spider-Man movies specifically. Which would mean he has 1 more where he's in high school. And then 3 when he's an adult, like college. And then 3 when he's out of college and he's like the man. And where Tom Holland is literally like mid to late 20s and he's a man, which is really cool. Hopefully they're already thinking about integrating Miles Morales and other characters that were introduced in Spider-Verse. Maybe not the characters from Spider-Verse specifically, but definitely like how Donald Glover, is that his name? Yeah, Donald Glover was like the uncle of Miles Morales in Homecoming and stuff like that. Like, they could use that to really pass the torch eventually. But that we don't have to think about that. I mean, he has 7 movies left, allegedly. So I'm just excited to have Tom Holland around. And, I really think for everyone listening out there, who people who still are listening, I really think Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man that we've had. Not just movie-wise, because the movies are vastly superior than any other movies. But also, just as an actor, Tom Holland is the best actor who has played Spider-Man. He's the most relatable Spider-Man. And he's the most fun to watch. And that's all I'm going to say about that for now. But I'm going to say that there's somebody who believes the exact opposite. Not that Tom Holland is the worst, because we all know Andrew Garfield is the worst, so we don't have to debate that. But that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and the Sam Raimi movies are better than Far From Home, Homecoming, and Tom Holland. And that person is Jonah Jamison Phillips himself, who has been on this podcast before, actually. And I challenge him to a debate on the podcast so we can finally settle this argument, because we've had it too many times. And I need to be proven right, because I'm going to be. I know all your arguments already. You've already said everything that I need to know, and I've just been biding my time. There's a reason why I never say anything whenever you and I talk about it, because I've been waiting to put it on a public forum for everybody to understand and everybody to listen for themselves and come to their own decision. And we're going to see. We're going to see what people think. So if you're not scared, Jake, you will take my offer, my challenge to come on and debate me. It'll be really fun. Text me if you're game. Well, with that being said, I think that's all the time I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this solo podcast of mine. I might do some more of these in the future when I can't really find a guest or I can't think of anything to bring anybody on for. This is just supposed to be a small thing, quick thing, So I don't want to have somebody go out of their way just to come on for 20 minutes and then, that's it. I'm still figuring out how to do calls and link calls to my interface. Well, not the interface, but into my DAW, which is the program that I use to record the audio. Once I figure that out, I'll be able to have guests on from everywhere, really, obviously. And I'll probably have more on for these shorter episodes, since it'd be less of a hassle for people to come on the show. But for now, you guys are stuck with just me on these for the foreseeable future. And I will talk to you guys on Monday. Or actually, no. Next episode won't be till Wednesday, actually. A little bit longer of a break. Just because of scheduling conflicts and all that. But on Wednesday, we have the trio of badass ladies from Bliss City who create their own clothing items and jewelry, all handcrafted. They make some really amazing stuff. Please follow them on Instagram at _ Bliss City, I believe. Let me see. Hold on. No, it's at Bliss City _ Yeah, at Bliss City _ Follow them. They're going to be vending at some events coming up in Sacramento, which I will be plugging on the Cultures Podcast Instagram and Facebook page. So please stay tuned for that. Wednesday at noon, it will be up. And yeah, you will also hear about updates if Jake takes my challenge and comes on the podcast. That should be happening soon if he wants to do it. And if you're listening, Jake, howdy. Take care, guys. Bye.